The first Tsar Kelly scout ship cut through Earth's atmosphere like a blade of obsidian night, its quantum displacement drive leaving a momentary shimmer in the sky that looked almost beautiful if you didn't know what was coming. It was 6:47 hours Eastern Standard Time when the massive vessel positioned itself directly above the Manhattan skyline, blocking out the first hints of dawn. Captain Aria Chen was in the middle of her morning briefing when the world changed. The conference room at the United Nations Extraterrestrial Response Coordination Center went silent. 12 of the world's top military, scientific, and diplomatic minds stared at the holographic display, watching the alien vessel's impossible geometry defy everything they understood about physics. "Well," muttered Dr. James Okello, Kenya's lead astrophysicist, "that's definitely not a weather balloon." Aria's fingers flew across her quantum-encrypted tablet. She'd spent the last decade preparing for scenarios most people considered science fiction. First contact protocols, alien invasion contingencies, global response strategies, they were no longer theoretical exercises. They were reality. The alien ship's first transmission came precisely 2 minutes and 17 seconds after its arrival. It wasn't a message of peace. It wasn't a declaration of war. It was an ultimatum, delivered in perfect, emotionless English that somehow carried the weight of centuries of galactic conquests. "Inhabitants of Sol 3, your civilization has been evaluated. Surrender is your only logical recourse. Resistance will result in complete planetary subjugation. You have precisely 120 standard Earth minutes to comply." In the conference room, a nervous junior analyst named Miguel Rodriguez began to laugh. It started as a chuckle, then grew into a full-bodied, almost hysterical laugh that echoed through the tension-filled space. "Something funny, Rodriguez," Colonel Sarah Greenwood snapped, her hand instinctively moving to the custom-designed quantum disruptor at her hip. Miguel wiped a tear from his eye. "Ma'am, they have no idea who they're dealing with." Outside, the world was already responding in a way no galactic civilization could have predicted. Social media erupted not with panic, but with a collective, sardonic humor that would become humanity's first weapon. At alieninvasion_NYC began trending within seconds. Memes featuring the massive ship with captions like "Warus TPARKANGJOBEVR" and "Someone KLO the Cosmic Etorefakikope" spread faster than the alien transmission could be analyzed. In Silicon Valley, 3 separate startup teams immediately began crowdsourcing alien communication decryption. In Beijing, quantum computing networks shifted from cryptocurrency mining to alien technology analysis in the span of a heartbeat. A distributed network of hackers, researchers, and citizen scientists began what would become the most comprehensive first contact response in human history. "They want a response," Aria Chen muttered, a slight smile playing on her lips. "We'll give them a response." Her fingers danced across multiple communication channels. Military networks, scientific research groups, diplomatic channels, all synchronized with a speed and precision that would later become legendary. The junior analyst, Miguel, was still chuckling. "They think we're going to roll over. Humans don't do roll over very well." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to Miguel, was already analyzing the ship's quantum signature. "The displacement technology is fascinating. See how the molecular restructuring occurs at the quantum level. It's inefficient, beautifully complex, but inefficient." Colonel Greenwood raised an eyebrow. "You're analyzing their technology while an alien ship hovers over Manhattan." "Better than panicking," Elena responded, her eyes never leaving the data streams flooding her holographic displays. Across the planet, something remarkable was happening. Where other civilizations might have fractured, humanity was unifying. National boundaries dissolved. Cultural differences became irrelevant. A global consciousness emerged, fueled by curiosity, defiance, and an almost playful determination. The Zarkali's first mistake was treating humanity like every other species they had conquered. Their second mistake was giving humans a common enemy and 120 minutes to prepare. Area Chen looked up from her tablet, meeting the eyes of her colleagues. "Gentlemen, ladies, let's show them what happens when you interrupt humanity's morning coffee." The response would be crafted not as a message of war, but as a declaration of something far more dangerous. Humanity was about to get interesting. Dr. Kwame Osei's fingers moved like a symphony conductor, orchestrating a global response that would redefine the meaning of collaborative intelligence. The quantum computing lab in Accra looked more like a war room than a research facility. Holographic displays flickered with alien communication patterns, each screen representing a different approach to decrypting the impossible. "It's not just encryption," Kwame muttered to himself. "It's an entire language of quantum entanglement we've never seen before." Beside him, Yuki Tanaka from the Tokyo Institute of Advanced Technologies leaned in, her augmented reality contact lenses parsing data streams that would have overwhelmed a conventional supercomputer. "Look at the phase modulation," she said, her voice a mixture of excitement and scientific rigor. "It's not linear. It's adaptive." The Tsar Kelly had made a critical miscalculation. When they transmitted their initial communication, they believed they were sending an unbreakable message. What they actually did was provide humanity with the most fascinating puzzle it had ever encountered. Within hours of the alien ship's arrival, something unprecedented happened. Online forums that typically argued about video game strategies and conspiracy theories transformed into the most sophisticated distributed research network in human history. Gamers who understood complex system mechanics worked alongside retired cryptographers. Machine learning algorithms developed by tech companies were repurposed to analyze alien communication patterns. A Discord server created by a 17-year-old high school student in Mumbai became the unexpected epicenter of global resistance. Project Rosetta, they called it, a nod to the ancient stone that first allowed humans to understand a forgotten language. In the United Nations Extraterrestrial Response Center, Captain Area Chen watched the global response with a mixture of pride and disbelief. "They're treating an alien invasion like the world's most complicated escape room," she said to Colonel Greenwood. The colonel, typically stoic, couldn't help but chuckle. And winning, apparently. Back in Accra, Kwame made a breakthrough that would later be studied in academic papers for generations. The alien communication wasn't just a message. It was a living system. Each transmission contained adaptive algorithms that could modify themselves based on the receiver's response. "It's not encryption," he announced to his global team of researchers. "It's a conversation." The implications were staggering. The Tsar Kelly hadn't just sent a message. They had inadvertently provided humanity with a complex technological ecosystem to study, deconstruct, and ultimately understand. In Silicon Valley, 3 startup teams worked in parallel, each approaching the alien communication from a different angle. One team treated it as a machine learning challenge. Another approached it from a linguistic perspective. The third, a group of game designers and computational linguists, began developing interactive models that could predict and potentially communicate with the alien systems. Lisa Rodriguez, a 29-year-old computational linguist, was the first to create a rudimentary translation matrix. "It's like they're speaking in 4-dimensional chess," she explained during a global live stream that attracted millions of viewers. "Except we're learning to play while the game is happening." The global response was uniquely human. Where other civilizations might have panicked or fragmented, humanity unified. National research grants were redirected. Private tech companies shared proprietary technologies. Universities suspended regular curricula to focus on the alien communication challenge. A teenager in Sao Paulo developed an open-source machine learning model that could partially predict the alien communication's next potential transmission. A retired NSA cryptographer in Washington, D.C. provided insights into pattern recognition. A group of indigenous Australian programmers contributed quantum computing models based on traditional knowledge systems. The Tsar Kelly, monitoring Earth's response, began to realize something was fundamentally wrong with their invasion calculations. Humans weren't just resisting. They were playing. By the end of the first 24 hours, Project Rosetta had developed a communication framework that could partially interpret the alien transmissions. It wasn't complete translation, not yet, but it was progress at a speed that defied every known model of technological adaptation. Kwame Osei looked up from his research station, a smile spreading across his face. "They gave us a puzzle," he said to Yuki, "and humanity loves solving puzzles." The alien ship hung motionless above Manhattan, unaware that its arrival had just unleashed humanity's most powerful weapon: curiosity. The Zarkali believed in the mathematics of conquest. For millennia, their psychological warfare had been a precise instrument, calibrated to break the spirit of any civilization unfortunate enough to cross their path. Their transmission was a carefully constructed archive of galactic subjugation, a visual testament to civilizations that had fallen, worlds reduced to ash, species erased from cosmic memory. They did not understand humans. The broadcast began at exactly 13:42 hours UTC, a massive data burst that overwhelmed every communication network on Earth. Holographic displays in city centers, personal devices, and research facilities simultaneously flickered to life with a terrifying montage of alien conquests. Worlds burned. Civilizations crumbled. Entire planetary systems were methodically dismantled with a clinical precision that spoke of centuries of refined conquest. In the United Nations Extraterrestrial Response Center, the room went silent. Captain Aria Chen's hand hovered over her communication panel, watching the horrific display. Then someone laughed. It was Miguel Rodriguez, the junior analyst who had first chuckled during the initial alien arrival. His laughter grew, echoing through the tense command center. "Something funny, Rodriguez," Colonel Greenwood snapped, her hand instinctively moving to her quantum disruptor. Miguel wiped a tear from his eye. "Ma'am, they have no idea what they're dealing with." Outside the command center, something extraordinary was happening. The alien transmission, meant to inspire terror, was being transformed by humanity in real time. On Twitch, a speedrunner named Jack Wu began a live challenge. Alien Conquest History Speedrun. Can we break their record? Viewers flooded the channel, turning the horrific display into a macabre gaming stream. Commentators began analyzing the alien conquest strategies like sports commentators, breaking down tactical approaches, critiquing invasion methodologies. Reddit's /alien invasion strategy exploded with activity. Military historians, game theorists, and amateur strategists began deep diving into the alien transmission. Each destroyed civilization became a case study. Each conquered world was meticulously analyzed for tactical insights. In Sao Paulo, a teenage game designer named Elena Silva started developing a real-time strategy game based on the alien conquest footage. "If they're going to show us their playbook," she told her streaming audience, "we might as well learn from it." The game went viral within hours. Military research centers around the world treated the transmission as the most comprehensive intelligence report in human history. Where the Zarkali saw a weapon of psychological destruction, humans saw a technical manual. Dr. James Okello from the Kenyan Advanced Research Center noted something peculiar. "Their conquest methodology is surprisingly rigid," he observed during a global research livestream. "They have a systematic approach, but it lacks adaptability." The livestream crashed multiple servers due to the unprecedented global viewership. In Moscow, a retired Special Forces operator named Nikolay Volkov began organizing volunteer militia training sessions. Using the alien conquest footage, he developed entirely new urban warfare strategies. "They show us their weaknesses," he told his growing online community. "We will turn their history into our survival manual." Social media transformed the alien transmission into something the Zarkali could never have anticipated. Memes proliferated faster than the data could be processed. The most terrifying moments of alien conquest became comedy sketches, musical remixes, and interactive learning experiences. A TikTok trend emerged where users recreated alien invasion scenes with household items. #Alien Conquest Challenge became a global phenomenon, with millions participating. The Zarkali monitoring systems registered something impossible. The transmission designed to induce planetary surrender was being consumed, analyzed, and transformed into a collaborative learning experience. Humanity wasn't just resisting psychological warfare. They were enjoying it. In the UN Command Center, Captain Aria Chen looked at the holographic displays, a slight smile playing on her lips. "They think they're showing us our future," she muttered. "We're showing them they've never met anything like us." The alien ship hung motionless above Manhattan, its transmission still playing, unaware that it had just provided humanity with its most powerful weapon: knowledge. The first prototype emerged from a converted automotive factory in Detroit at 300 hours, 48 hours after the alien ship's arrival. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a statement. Maria Rodriguez stood beside the modified plasma cannon, her hands still covered in industrial grease and quantum calibration residue. What had started as a late-night engineering experiment had become something entirely unexpected. "I used parts from a coffee machine," she explained to the live global broadcast, a mischievous glint in her eye, "and an old smartphone." The weapon, if it could be called that, represented more than just technological innovation. It was a middle finger to every assumption the Tsar Kelly had made about human capabilities. Across the planet, manufacturing lines transformed with a speed that defied conventional logic. In Shenzhen, smartphone factories retooled to produce quantum communication jammers. Japanese robotics labs developed adaptive defense systems that could learn and modify themselves in real time. A textile factory in Bangladesh began producing smart fabric body armor that could potentially deflect alien energy weapons. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, no relation to Maria, watched the global transformation from her quantum research center in Chile. "It's not about the technology," she told her research team. "It's about how quickly we can reimagine what's possible." The global technology ecosystem had become a living, breathing organism. Open-source platforms shared breakthrough technologies within minutes. A security patch developed by a teenager in India became a global defense protocol before most governments could convene a meeting. At the Silicon Valley Innovation Hub, 3 separate startup teams were now functioning as an impromptu defense research center. What would have taken years of bureaucratic negotiations was now happening in hours. Jack Chen, a 35-year-old aerospace engineer, had converted his company's experimental propulsion lab into an alien technology analysis center. "They gave us a treasure trove of technological data," he explained during a global live stream. "We're not just defending. We're learning." The Zarkali monitoring systems began to detect something unprecedented. Human technology wasn't just improving. It was evolving. A distributed network of researchers began systematically breaking down and reconstructing alien technological principles. What the Zarkali considered their most advanced systems became puzzles to be solved, challenges to be overcome. In a small research lab in Nairobi, Dr. James Okello discovered something remarkable about the alien quantum communication systems. "It's not just a communication method," he told his global research team. "It's a living technological ecosystem." Within 72 hours, humanity had developed communication disruption technologies that could potentially neutralize the alien ship's primary systems. What was more impressive, they were sharing these developments in real time across every conceivable platform. Social media became a technological warfare platform. Memes now contained actual technological schematics. TikTok tutorials explained quantum entanglement principles. Reddit threads became distributed research centers. Maria Rodriguez's plasma cannon prototype became an internet sensation. The video of her explaining how she combined a coffee machine, a smartphone, and alien technology to create a weapon went viral within hours. "Humanity's first rule of engineering," she said with a grin, "is that nothing is impossible, just slightly more complicated than we initially thought." The alien ship hung motionless above Manhattan, its technological superiority being systematically dismantled by a species that viewed technological challenges as the ultimate competitive sport. In the UN Extraterrestrial Response Center, Captain Area Chen watched the global technological transformation with a mixture of pride and disbelief. "They think they're invading," she muttered to Colonel Greenwood. "We think they've given us the most interesting Christmas present ever." The colonel, typically stoic, couldn't help but chuckle. "Merry Christmas to us," he responded. Somewhere in the vast complexity of human innovation, the rules of technological engagement were being rewritten, and the Zarkali were about to receive their first lesson. The Zarkali believed in division. Their conquest strategies had always relied on fracturing civilizations, exploiting cultural differences, turning populations against one another. They had perfected this approach across hundreds of conquered worlds. They had never met humanity. The global broadcast came unexpectedly, not from a government facility or a military command center, but from a makeshift studio assembled in the heart of the Amazon rainforest. Rayani Matuktire, an 82-year-old indigenous leader from the Kayapo people, sat surrounded by elders from indigenous communities spanning 6 continents. "We are not many peoples," Rayani began, his voice carrying the weight of millennia. "We are one human family." Behind him, a holographic display showed representatives from cultures that had historically been in conflict. A Maori warrior stood beside a Canadian First Nations elder. An Aboriginal Australian tracker positioned next to a Native American strategist. Representatives from every inhabited continent, every cultural background, united in a way the Zarkali could never have anticipated. The broadcast was a declaration, not of war, but of unity. In Tokyo, a team of robotics engineers integrated traditional Japanese martial arts principles into adaptive defense mechanisms. The fluid movements of Aikido became the basis for a new class of defensive robots that could anticipate and redirect energy-based attacks. A research team in Cape Town combined indigenous tracking techniques with quantum communication technologies. What the Zarkali saw as primitive became a sophisticated early warning system that could detect quantum-level disturbances. In the end, a group of researchers used traditional Incan architectural knowledge to develop adaptive shielding technologies. The same principles that had allowed Incan engineers to build earthquake-resistant structures now formed the basis of potential planetary defense systems. Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the UN Extraterrestrial Response Center watched the global cultural mobilization with fascination. "They're trying to divide us," she explained during a global live stream. "But they've given us the ultimate gift, a reason to unite." Social media exploded with cultural exchange. The #HumanUnity hashtag became a global phenomenon. People began sharing not just technological innovations, but cultural knowledge. Traditional healing practices were analyzed for potential medical applications. Ancient agricultural techniques were reviewed for potential planetary defense strategies. A group of Aboriginal Australian elders began teaching quantum communication principles based on their traditional storytelling methods. What seemed like simple oral histories became sophisticated knowledge transfer systems that modern scientists struggled to comprehend. In Moscow, Nikolai Volkov, the retired Special Forces operator, developed urban warfare strategies that combined military tactics with indigenous tracking techniques. A volunteer militia formed, drawing members from every conceivable background. "We are not fighting for territory," Volkov told his growing online community. "We are fighting for our right to exist as a species." The alien ship's attempts to broadcast divisive messages fell flat. Every transmission was immediately translated, analyzed, and transformed into a learning opportunity. Where other civilizations might have fractured, humanity found unity. A teenage gamer in Sao Paulo developed a multiplayer strategy game that allowed people from different cultural backgrounds to collaborate on alien defense strategies. The game went viral, becoming an unexpected training ground for global cooperation. In the UN Extraterrestrial Response Center, Captain Area Chen watched the cultural mobilization with a mixture of pride and disbelief. They think they're going to divide us, she muttered to Colonel Greenwood. We're showing them what true diversity looks like. The colonel, typically stoic, couldn't help but smile. They'd picked the wrong planet to mess with. Rowney Metuktire's broadcast ended with a simple statement that would later be quoted in Galactic archives. We are not many. We are one. And we are human. The Zarkuli monitoring systems registered something impossible. A civilization wasn't just resisting. It was transforming. The alien ship hung motionless above Manhattan, unaware that it had just unleashed humanity's most powerful weapon. Our collective spirit. Jack Wu never intended to become humanity's most unexpected psychological warfare expert. At 19 years old, he was just another content creator trying to go viral. The alien invasion was about to change everything. When the Zarkuli launched their next psychological transmission, a carefully constructed message designed to break human spirit, Jack was streaming live on TikTok. The alien communication began as a bone-chilling narrative of galactic subjugation, a cold recitation of civilizations crushed beneath technological superiority. Jack hit the remix button. Within seconds, the alien transmission was auto-tuned into a dance track. The menacing alien voices became a beat. The horrific images of planetary destruction transformed into a background for a viral dance challenge. #AlienTalk was born. Millions of users worldwide began mimicking alien communication styles, turning the most terrifying psychological warfare in galactic history into a global comedy routine. Where the Zarkuli saw a weapon of terror, humanity saw an opportunity for creativity. In the UN Extraterrestrial Response Center, Captain Aria Chen watched the mimetic response with a mixture of professional concern and barely concealed amusement. They're turning an invasion into entertainment, she muttered to Colonel Greenwood. The colonel raised an eyebrow. Seems about right. The alien psychological warfare had several critical components. Intimidation, historical precedent, a clinical demonstration of inevitable defeat. Humanity responded with something the Zarkuli computational models could never have predicted: weaponized absurdity. On Reddit, entire communities began developing elaborate fan theories about the alien invasion. The most terrifying transmission became the plot of a crowdsourced science fiction novel. Wikipedia pages were created detailing fictional alien cultural practices. Conspiracy theory forums transformed the invasion into an elaborate collaborative storytelling project. Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the Psychological Warfare Analysis team discovered something remarkable. They're not just deflecting the psychological attack, she explained during a global research briefing. They're fundamentally rewriting how psychological warfare works. Jack Wu's TikTok video went beyond a simple meme. It became a global communication platform. Users began adding translation layers, analyzing alien communication patterns, turning each transmission into a collaborative research project. A group of linguists and meme creators developed what they called the Humor Translator, an open-source platform that could automatically convert alien communications into comedic content. The more serious the transmission, the more ridiculous the resulting meme. In Sao Paulo, Alina Silva, the teenage game designer who had previously created a strategy game based on alien conquest footage, developed an interactive experience that allowed users to negotiate with the alien transmission. Part game, part linguistic analysis tool, it became a global phenomenon. The Zarkuli monitoring systems registered something impossible. Their carefully constructed psychological warfare was being consumed, analyzed, transformed, and ultimately neutralized by a mechanism they couldn't comprehend: humor. Nikolay Volkov, the retired Special Forces operator, explained it best during a global live stream. Psychological warfare works by creating fear, he said. We're creating laughter. Guess which one is more powerful? Social media platforms became distributed research centers. Memes contained actual technological and linguistic analysis. Comedy sketches broke down alien communication principles. Every transmission was simultaneously a threat, a research opportunity, and a potential viral content source. Jack Wu, still streaming, looked directly into his camera. "Hey aliens," he said, grinning. "Welcome to the internet. Hope you like chaos." The alien ship hung motionless above Manhattan, its transmissions becoming increasingly desperate. Each message was almost immediately transformed into a global inside joke. Captain Area Chen watched the mimetic defense with a sense of professional pride. "They think they're breaking our spirit," she muttered. "We're showing them our spirit can't be broken." In the vast, cold calculations of the Zarkili invasion protocols, something unprecedented was happening. A species wasn't just resisting psychological warfare. They were enjoying it. The most advanced psychological warfare system in galactic history was being systematically dismantled by creativity, humor, and a fundamental human inability to take anything too seriously. Humanity had discovered its most powerful weapon: laughter. The conclave of elder species convened in a realm beyond physical space, a quantum conference chamber that existed simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. 13 representatives from the most ancient civilizations in the known universe gathered to assess the unprecedented situation developing around a small blue planet. Zornak, the crystalline arbiter from the Andromeda Consensus, projected the holographic data streams of human activity. Millennia of conquest protocols, invasion strategies, and civilization assessment models scrolled past like a digital waterfall of failed assumptions. "This is impossible," murmured Krelax, the silicon-based representative from the Quantum Harmonics Collective. "No species has ever responded like this." The holographic displays told a story no computational model could have predicted. Humanity wasn't just resisting. They were transforming every aspect of the invasion into an opportunity for growth, learning, and, most terrifyingly, entertainment. Dr. Elena Rodriguez's analysis of human response patterns had been transmitted across the galactic communication networks. What was meant to be a technical report had become a cultural phenomenon, studied and dissected by civilizations thousands of light years apart. The invasion of Earth was no longer just a potential conquest. It had become a case study in something far more dangerous: evolutionary potential. Tantera, the eldest member of the conclave, rarely spoke. Her consciousness spanned multiple dimensional planes, and she had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations. When she finally addressed the gathering, her voice carried the weight of eons. "They are not fighting," she said, her translucent form shimmering with ancient knowledge. "They are becoming." The data streams continued their relentless display. Humans were not just defending. They were learning, adapting, transforming at a rate that defied every known scientific principle of technological and cultural evolution. Military strategies developed in hours that would take most species centuries. Technological innovations emerged from the most unexpected sources. A coffee machine repurposed into a plasma weapon, indigenous tracking techniques transformed into quantum communication systems. The Zarkili invasion reports became increasingly desperate. Each transmission revealed less about human weakness and more about human potential. Computational models failed. Historical precedents collapsed. The very foundations of galactic civilization's understanding of species development were being systematically dismantled by a civilization that didn't even realize what it was doing. "We cannot continue with the standard intervention protocols," Zornak announced, the crystalline structure of its being vibrating with a combination of fear and fascination. Some representatives advocated for immediate diplomatic engagement. Others suggested complete quarantine. A few radical voices proposed the unthinkable, preemptive extinction. Xantera's response was swift and absolute. "No," she stated, her consciousness cutting through the debate like a quantum blade. "They are not a threat to be eliminated. They are a phenomenon to be understood." The human response to invasion was unlike anything in galactic records. They treated each alien transmission as a puzzle, each technological challenge as an opportunity, each moment of potential destruction as a chance for creative problem-solving. Captain Area Chen's global broadcast, analyzed and reanalyzed by the conclave, became a pivotal moment. "We are not fighting for territory," she had said. "We are fighting for the right to exist, to grow, to become." The conclave realized something profound. Humanity was not just a species. They were a process of continuous transformation. Krelax's computational systems began to generate a new set of models. "They are rewriting the very principles of species development," the representative observed. "Not through conquest, through adaptation." The holographic displays continued their relentless narrative. Memes that contained technological analysis. Social media platforms that functioned as distributed research centers. A global consciousness that emerged not through forced unity, but through a shared sense of curiosity and defiance. The alien ship remained motionless above Manhattan, no longer a symbol of invasion, but a catalyst for humanity's greatest moment of collective potential. Xantera made a decision that would be remembered in galactic archives for millennia. "We will observe," she declared, "and we will learn." The invasion was no longer about conquest. It was about understanding. The moment of transformation came not with a bang, but with a collective breath. Exactly 168 hours after the initial alien arrival, the Zarkeli ship began to change. Its obsidian surface rippled, quantum matrices realigning in a way that defied every known principle of technological physics. Captain Aria Chen watched from the UN Extraterrestrial Response Center, her hand resting on a console that now looked more like an artistic interface than a traditional command system. The global response had been unprecedented, not a military mobilization, but a planetary awakening. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood beside her, quantum analysis streams dancing across her augmented reality display. "They're not surrendering," she said quietly. "They're converting." The ship's transformation was a language of its own. Where other civilizations might have seen a tactical retreat, humanity saw an invitation to understanding. Jack Wu, the content creator who had first turned alien transmissions into viral dance challenges, was now coordinating a global communication initiative. What had started as internet humor had become the most sophisticated first contact protocol in galactic history. In the Amazon, Ronnie Matuktire and his coalition of indigenous leaders had been instrumental in developing communication strategies that went beyond traditional linguistic models. Traditional storytelling techniques became the foundation of interspecies dialogue. The Zarkeli civilization was experiencing something no computational model could have predicted. Exposure to human potential was fundamentally rewriting their own cultural and technological understanding. Nikolay Volkov, the retired Special Forces operator, now led a global initiative translating human adaptive strategies into a universal communication framework. Military tactics merged with cultural understanding, creating a new approach to interspecies interaction. "We're not conquering," Volkov explained during a global broadcast. "We're connecting." The transformation wasn't just technological. It was philosophical. The Zarkeli had arrived with conquest in mind. They were leaving with something far more valuable, a new understanding of collective potential. Quantum communication channels began to shift. Where once there were invasion protocols, now there were collaborative research initiatives. Technology exchanges replaced weapons systems. The very fabric of galactic civilization began to recalibrate. Dr. Kwame Osei from the Accra Quantum Research Center discovered something remarkable. The alien technology wasn't just being understood, it was being reimagined. Human adaptability was turning potential weapons into tools of collaborative development. In the conclave of elder species, Xantera's prediction had come to fruition. Humanity wasn't a threat to be eliminated. They were a phenomenon to be understood. The alien ship above Manhattan was no longer a symbol of invasion. It had become a beacon of possibility. Maria Rodriguez, the engineer who had first created a weapon from a coffee machine and a smartphone, now led an international technology exchange program. "Every challenge," she told her global team, "is just an invitation to create something new." Social media platforms that had once spread memes now coordinated the most complex technological and cultural exchange in galactic history. The lines between military response, scientific research, and cultural understanding had completely dissolved. Jack Wu's final livestream captured the moment perfectly. "Hey aliens," he said, grinning into the camera, "welcome to humanity. We solve problems. We create. We connect." The Zarkali civilization underwent a complete cultural revolution. Rigid hierarchical systems were replaced by more flexible, collaborative models. The very concept of conquest was being rewritten. In the Galactic archives, a new directive was added, not in the language of war, but in the language of possibility. Observation Protocol Alpha 1. Humanity is not a civilization to be understood. They are a continuous process of becoming. Captain Area Chen looked out over the transformed Manhattan skyline. The alien ship now pulsed with a soft, adaptive light, no longer a threat, but a promise. Dr. Elena Rodriguez placed a hand on her shoulder. "We didn't just survive," she said quietly. "We transformed." Somewhere in the vast, silent reaches of space, the elder species would silently agree. Humanity had not just entered the galactic stage. They had rewritten the entire script.